morning, everyone. Welcome back. So, well, early on in the program, we were talking about planning a vacation, and as I was saying, with budget deficits and austerity measures taking place, where is it that people would be able to go during this time, and how it is that they could smartly plan a vacation, and especially economic development is a concern in so many of the countries as well. But anyways, however, we are very, very much blessed here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where oil prices are going higher. Anyways, on this note, we are going to be moving on further more in the program. Russia, we are going to be talking more about the media's role in terms of economic development and at the same time being an instigator of truth.
Absolutely, and of course to tell us more about this very interesting and sensitive topic, we're joined by Mr. طلعت حافظ, who's a writer, an economic expert, also a member of the Media Economic Committee at the Riyadh Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Mr. طلعت, and thank you for joining us.
Well, good morning to you, and good morning to you also, and to our dear viewers, and thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure having you, of course,
My
always.
pleasure.
Mr. Talwat, earlier on there was a forum taking place to shed light a bit more on the role of the media when it comes to economic development and economic issues. Tell us just initially a little bit more about this forum.
Well, indeed, this is the third forum that we as a committee, as you mentioned, the Media Economic Committee at the Chamber of Commerce. This is our third summit, or so it's a third forum that we hold in the Kingdom. And basically, the basics objective of that forum is to tighten the relationship, if you will, between the reporters and the writers and the people are engaged in the media and the society in general, especially or in a very specific terms with the different government entities and also including the private sector. Because we do feel the information is very important. When you have the right information, you will be able to transmit the right information to the public and not to give them information that could be misled or misleading for them, or it doesn't really has the quality that we're looking for. So we believe bridging that gap between, as I mentioned, between the public, government entities, if you will, or even though in the private sector, different entities, and the media, the people who are working in the media, I believe it's very important to have such sort of a ties and relationship, strong, solid relationship. And as I mentioned, for them to have the right information at the right time, so they could convey it to the public also at the right time with the quality and the preciseness, to be very precise, if you will, in conveying such information.
Indeed, because sometimes, Mr. Khaled, as we commonly see, that through some arms of the media, people tend to exaggerate what is common knowledge, and just to highlight their stories, sometimes they go into particular domains just to, let's say, incubate a situation which really was not. Now, talking about Saudi Arabia, especially at this particular time of the year, when we are very close to having our budget surplus out in the market, at this time, during this forum...
Not yet, December is way behind us.
Time is looking forward.
Go ahead.
But were there any mentions, because I believe that Saudi Arabia has been a country that has supplied so many economies across the globe with its budgets each year, and the way that the budgets and parts of it are allocated, especially for education. So were there any mentions about the budget for this year in this forum?
Well, I forgot to first give my special regards and thanks to His Excellency Dr. Abdulaziz Khoja, who has really inaugurated, and it was under his patronage, the third forum of the economic media forum. So it was great for him to accommodate with such event, realizing, I'm sure from his part, the importance of such forum, and also the importance, as we mentioned, the information flow and that. Now, in answering your question, I believe the kingdom is really living its best life, if you will. The economic life, alhamdulillah, and also social and political, all have you, but very specific with the economic aspect that we have really mentioned and tackled, simply because, as you know, when the financial crisis broke in 2008, 2.5 years ago, and the damage that it has done to the financial systems, if you will, worldwide, even some government fiscal budget being collapsed, not only banks and not only financial
institutions. Governments are still getting over the
Exactly. Yet I think we're dealing with such crisis in a very swift and very wise manner, and that made us really to get over the financial crisis whether being from the macro level, the Saudi macro level, the economic macro level, or even the banking and the financial sector, with the least damages possible and cost possible to such financial crisis. Talking about the deficit or the surplus of the budget, I think it's early to tell. But being an economist, my reading another economist, yet we have a fiscal budget, as you probably know. It will be announced in December, around December of this year. But we do believe, watching closely the oil prices and what's happening with oil prices. Now we're talking about forward contracts, oil forward contracts, 122, 123 on the average, whether being Brent or the West Texas or what have you. We believe this definitely will impact positively on our fiscal budget, and we do believe that we will be having a surplus. Now there are some figures people are talking about, around 90 to 95 billion Saudi riyal, rather than what is anticipated 40 billion deficit. Definitely, I believe we will have a deficit, but it's very difficult now to attach a figure simply because yet we have quite a long way to go. A couple of months until we hit December.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Hafiz, coming back to the forum, both a bit more about some of the issues discussed in the forum. We know that housing solutions was on the list. We know that employment opportunities and also the employment opportunities for women, of course, on the list there. Tell us a bit more about some of these issues.
Well, definitely, as you mentioned, the importance of such factors, which is the housing issues, and also the enlarging, if you will, the opportunities for females, Saudi females, to work and produce more opportunities for them. Definitely, this is the concern. Was simply the housing. Why? Because the housing, we are, as they call it, a young society, meaning that 60% of our society are youth, below the age of 30. So she or he, they will require housing at a certain point of time. And this is where the housing really becoming a very crucial issue from the sustainability point of view. And this is where the custodian of Muslim Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz, Hafidhullah, has really stepped in, and as you probably recall, in the latest royal directive, where he increased the paid-up capital for the Saudi Real Estate Fund by 60 billion Saudi Riyal. I'm sorry, by 40 billion Saudi Riyal, including committing 250 billion Saudi Riyal to build 500,000 housing units. So by the 40 billion Saudi Riyal injected to the state fund, to the real estate fund, and also that 250 billion building 500,000 units, I think that will ease, not will solve, it will not solve completely the housing issue, but definitely it will put it into ease much better than the current issue that we start with. Also, the increase of the loan from 300,000 Saudi Riyal up to 500,000 Riyal, that also will help into constructing and building a house. But again, I think the demand is overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed with the demand. We anticipate the 9th economic development plan of the kingdom anticipate over the plan period or time span more than 1,250,000 houses needed for that 5 years. And we already started year 2010. So by 2014 we should be able to have additional 1,250,000 house on board, built, inshallah. But again, there are some numbers more, they're not pessimistic, but they are more optimistic from the demand point of view. By year 2025, we probably need 2.9 million housing units.
Absolutely.
So you can easily see how the growth of the housing demand is really rapidly, sharp increase of it. So this is where I think the king has stepped in and put all of this help for that. Definitely the establishment of a special Ministry of Housing is to take care of the housing demand and plan for it. I think this is also a step forward getting over the problem.
Well, Mr. Hafiz, with more housing, let's say with easing the housing issue, this will increase hopefully the marriages, which will in turn require more housing in the future.
Indeed, but I still have a problem really, despite bumping all of this money into the system. We need to twist a little bit of our culture in the way that we structure our housing. Most of our housing are, not used. I talk about my house, for example. I've been very frank. Maybe I use 40% of that house, 50% at most, and the 50% is just is just not really properly used. What I'm saying, we need to think seriously about what we call affordable house, a second and muyassar. Affordable house that give you probably 170 meters to 200 meters that really could accommodate your family in a very nice way, but you don't waste. You don't waste for the space, unnecessary space, because unnecessary space, wasted space, it means money for you. It's not money from the construction point of view, but also from maintaining such a big house. So we need also this culture to be influenced. Back to the females working opportunity. I think the Saudi female is very important to us because they are 50% of the society. They exactly 49.1% of the society.
I don't want to say the better half, Mr. Hafiz.
Well, it's an important half to us because I don't believe a man in life could work alone. Neither nor also the female could work alone. Absolutely. I think we should partnership with others to make life easy and nice and beautiful. So we feel that we have to really work very hard in creating jobs for such ladies, such female. Now look at the university. We have this huge university, which is Prince Noor's University, and to the female that they will be graduating from that university. It's a big university. Absolutely. We have to be sure when we have this graduated females in the near future, so we have jobs for them. Absolutely. Because they are. We don't want to spend money on their education and then ask them to sit home. So it doesn't make sense at all. So this is why I think we have a challenge ahead of us is to create more jobs enough to accommodate as much as we can a number of females in the future.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Talib, talking about media and media keeping its transparency when it comes to the economic developmental issues or the economic complications that we have going on in the country. I mean, alhamdulillah, not talking about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have been very much blessed. But let's take the United Kingdom, for example, whose economy has been suffering with so many of the job cuts, the budget deficits, the austerity measures, with so many things going on. Now, with all this information being so transparent through the arms of the media there is so much chaos in the country with people who are constantly under turmoil, under severe depression because of the complications that they are having, because of the job losses that they are having. How important do you think is the role of the media to keep things on the right ground as well? I mean, instead of, let's say, just creating so much of chaos around.
I always call good media as a balance, meaning you have to be really. We have a saying in Arabic, you have to hold the stick from the middle. You don't have to be extreme to the right or to the left. You have to be really balanced the way that you're presenting your information. Unfortunately, I'm not talking about our local media, but in general, some of the media gentlemen or females who are involved in the media, they like to have some sort of break news. I love break news, but not to the point that it really, one, it is not persistent, it is not accurate. It is not precise, that also could damage a certain image of the country, or it could reflect negatively on its national security. And even if you look to the United States of America, who they have the most country in the world, they have the freedom of speech, they have in their amendment, the way that media should deal with the public. Nothing that the media, the U.S. media, could hurt the national security or hurt the country image, what have you. So I'm not saying that we want to control media, but definitely we want to make sure that we have a media, a wise, balanced media that really responsible for whatever information that conveys.
From your professional opinion, do you believe sometimes that some media networks should, let's say, hold on to information if it's not beneficial and if it can cause chaos or if it can cause, let's say, a lack of stability in society? Do you believe that sometimes information should not be conveyed if it's for the best interest of the society?
Sure, I agree with you 100%, but more than 100%, because if the information, as I mentioned, could damage the national security of the country, or damage the society itself, or cause some, as you mentioned, chaotic or chaos or whatever, or disturbance to the society, definitely such information, damageable information, should not be revealed. for a simple reason. Again, as I said, it should be balanced, it should be accurate, it should be worthwhile, it should really be constructive to the society, not destructive.
Absolutely, especially Mr. Hafiz, because some information is so quickly updated that something might be actually breaking news 1 minute, there might be parts of it changing. Initially, the first part could be chaotic, the second part could not. So I think accuracy is a very, very important tool when it comes to media, and picking and selecting information that is relevant and will actually be informative and society need to know about it is also another important issue. But with this, Mr. Talal Hafiz, we would like to thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for our viewers who watch the program, and I hope that I have benefited somehow from what has been
You've been very informative, of course. Mr. Talal Hafiz is a writer and economic expert and also member of the Media Economic Committee at the Chamber of Commerce here in Riyadh. Nevertheless, we said there was a very interesting forum going on. We've been discussing it slightly with Mr. Hafiz. Let's find out more about the economic forum when it comes to the role of media and economic development. When we come back, lots more on Good Morning KSA, including the fashion segment with Steiner and, of course, our cooking segment with Chef Randa Radwan a little bit later on. Stay tuned.